This string of recognitions brings Channels Television's cameras to Guildford, the county town of Surrey in southern England. Welcome to Diaspora Network. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Today, we follow a Nigerian-British Director of Compliance at Setfords Solicitor, Pearl Moses. She's been recognized for helping to make the UK legal sector more diverse and more inclusive. Our special report looks at diversity campaigners in the legal space in the UK and the role that Setfords plays. And we get an exclusive look into Pearl's craft at the firm's headquarters right here in Guildford. It promises to be an exciting episode, but let's kick off with a look at the news this week, and then we'll come back and tell you all about diversity, inclusion, and how Nigerians are making their mark in that space.
In a stark contrast to the UK's new student visa rules, the Canadian government has introduced a new policy for professionals and students, allowing them to bring their dependents into the country with them. Canada's Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Minister, Sean Fraser, made the announcement last month as part of Canada's wider plans to welcome over 100,000 people this year under the family class category. According to the Canadian government website, sponsored individuals can bring spouses, common law and conjugal partners, children, parents and grandparents, provided they meet the required eligibility criteria. Fraser emphasised that the new policy will allow TRV applications to be processed within 30 days, meaning family members can travel to Canada more quickly and be with their loved ones sooner. Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has congratulated Nigerian-born data management expert Abel Abo on his appointment into the Scotland Board of Data Lab Centre for AI, including his tremendous work in data innovation and development. Mr. Abo, who was appointed to this role in April, has been instrumental in establishing the Innovation and Skills Advisory Boards and reviewing the vision and strategy for the centre. We spoke to him about his achievements and his next steps.
When I think about Nigeria, what I would do, the plan I would do within data and AI is to ensure that about 30 to 60% of the Nigerian workforce is pretty much data literate. And more importantly, we've got the skills and the capability to support young people from early careers to tertiary education. It's important for Nigeria to be one of the first countries that will create the first startup or unicorn or business that will be $1 trillion market capitalization, because I think it's long overdue.
Juliana Olayinka with the Diaspora Network News Wrap in London.
Well, diversity, equality and inclusion are not just catchphrases. Here's a look at some of the faces making an impact in this space.
Dr. Ijoma Uchiezala was awarded Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Champion by Alberta's largest multicultural publication, Diversity magazine, in April this year. She is the Managing Director and CEO of Without Walls Incorporated, Canada. Her business network spans Africa, the Middle East, North America, and Europe. For her contribution to girl child, women empowerment, as well as diversity and inclusion, Dr. Ijoma has received numerous recognitions. She serves on several boards as director for social profit groups, political organizations, and committees. During her tenure as vice president of Rehoboth Alliance, she effectively executed a graceful Black History event in the region. Another DE&I advocate with global recognition is Dalakwa Agbede. She was diagnosed with glaucoma, a condition which caused her to go blind. Dalakwa struggled with acceptance at the early stage of her journey, but persevered and pursued her dreams relentlessly. Her struggles fueled her passion and belief for equal opportunity for all, regardless of gender, age, or disability. She is now the driving force behind Willway Paradigm, a consulting company on a mission to create bespoke solutions that cater to the needs of diverse workforces, and has become a force to be reckoned with in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space.
Now, many businesses are finally coming round to the idea of having a diverse workspace. Even in the legal profession, we find many diasporans at the top of compliance in terms of diversity rules.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, also known as DE&I, is a term used to describe policies and programs that promote the representation and participation of different groups of individuals of different ages, races, ethnicities, abilities, disabilities, genders, religions, and cultures. It also covers people with diverse backgrounds, experiences, skills, and expertise. DE&I seeks to promote a fair treatment and full participation for all, particularly groups who have historically been underrepresented or subjected to discrimination on the basis of identity or disability.
Beautiful! It's beautiful! Black is beautiful! Black is beautiful! Black is beautiful!
In today's multicultural societies, diversity, equity, and inclusion are critical to the success of businesses as employees, customers, and investors increasingly demand for better representation across ethnicity, language, gender, religion, and race. The idea is to create a more productive, cohesive, connected, and harmonious work environment for all. In 2021, China had the highest number of employees with access to diversity, equity, and inclusion at work, followed by the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. In the UK, a number of organizations from different sectors like tech, healthcare, and the legal profession are advancing in terms of equal representation among genders and ethnicities. And this is backed up by research, where stats shows that lawyers in the UK are leading the charge among professional services firms when it comes to diversity, equality, and inclusion initiatives. DWF, a leading global provider of integrated legal and business services, launched an ethnic minority access scheme for Black, Asian, and minority ethnic individuals who aspire to pursue a career in law to help them gain paid work experience. Setfords Solicitors, ranked high on the top 100 law firms in the UK, has received global recognition for achieving the equality of access, retention, and promotion of Black solicitors in the diaspora. As of November 2022, 62% of consultant lawyers at Setfords are female and 23% are from Black, Asian, and minority ethnic backgrounds, with over 400 lawyers throughout the UK. The company is the first full-service law firm to launch a consultancy model with a focus on well-being, mental health, diversity, and inclusion. Its CEOs, Chris and Guy Setfords, highlight the firm's knack for attracting individuals with diverse backgrounds.
The model itself, it attracts everybody from all walks of life, and it empowers the lawyers that come and work here. It empowers them to work in the way in which they want to work. So it doesn't matter whether you've got multiple business interests, it doesn't matter if you've got family commitments, it doesn't matter if you want to work full-time, part-time, flexibility. Geographically you can work from anywhere. This business can work with you and can look after you, and that's why it attracts such a diverse group of lawyers and such a diverse group of people.
Chris and I are both lawyers. And we saw quite early on the things that we didn't like about traditional law, the targets, unrealistic billing hours that you're expected to work, the fact that you have to take on management responsibilities but still hit your billing numbers, the fact that you can't work from home. And we thought, we don't want this for our careers, this isn't for us. I thought there must be a better way of working. And there are other consultancy operations in other sectors that existed long before Setfords did, and we just sort of evolved our thoughts and sat down with a blank piece of paper and said, what does great look like? What's a great business model that we would really like to run, and that we think lawyers would really like to work in. And that's what we constructed.
And it goes back to the first thing we were just talking about, which is putting people first. Well-being and the initiatives that we've put in place. It's not a tick box exercise for this business. We do it because we believe it, and actually in many instances we did it before everybody else in our industry.
These and many more organizations are making giant strides in ensuring that the legal profession accurately reflects the society it serves. While many Nigerian legal practitioners in the diaspora are contributing to effective justice delivery and breaking boundaries while at it, the story is not quite the same back home, as there is a constant clamor for an overhaul of the judicial system for better administration of justice. The global campaign for diversity, equity and inclusion in the workplace may have heightened, but much more needs to be done to attain the desired outcome.
Now, Guildford is the home of the renowned medieval Guildford Castle, but it also sees a lot of foot traffic from one of the most celebrated law firms in the UK. It's celebrated for its diversity and inclusion story. Let's take a look at what we found about how a particular Nigerian is making her mark in this space. Our quest to find Pearl took us through this journey to the town of Guildford in the county of Surrey, situated 27 miles southwest of London. It's famous for its excellent retail facilities and civil parishes, largely comprising picturesque and affluent villages. We make our way down the renowned high street to Setfords Solicitors, where we find the female black British Director of Compliance, who has received recognition for making the UK legal profession more diverse and inclusive. This seasoned legal practitioner success story begins with the young Pearl attending Holy Child College, Obalende, Lagos State, southwest Nigeria. She went on to study law and has a bachelor's degree from the University of Kent and a Master of Law degree from Cambridge University. She qualified as a barrister and solicitor with both UK and Nigerian bars, and in her early career, she served as case law editor for Sweet and Maxwell Thompson Legal Publishers in the United Kingdom. Pearl then spent over a decade at the Law Society of England and Wales, where she held various roles, including lead consultant, risk and compliance technical policy advisor, and lead trainer, interim director for product development, as well as regulatory compliance adjudicator. She won numerous awards, including the Law Society's CEO Choice Award 2012. She has received recognition following her shortlisting for Law Firm Leader of the Year at the prestigious Women and Diversity in Law Awards 2023. Hosted by the Global Legal Post, the awards showcase people working within the UK legal sector who are dedicating their professional careers to moving the DE&I needle or using their positions of influence to help facilitate change. Originally from Abia State in southeast Nigeria, Pearl is the first of 5 siblings, and this experience dovetailed into her passion for mentoring young people. She has received much recognition for her role as a youth mentor with an interest for young people from disturbed backgrounds, and has become known as a raising achievement specialist. She is happily married to Mr. Olatunji Moses and is an author of 2 best-selling books, as well as an active podcaster. Today, she continually serves in an ambassadorial capacity, conducting best practice visits to law firms around the UK and delivers talks on strategies to enhance professional conduct, adherence to rules, and complaints handling. Setfords Solicitors is her home, and DE&I her passion. Welcome back to Diaspora Network, coming to you from Guildford here in Surrey. Now, Pearl Moses is a celebrated diversity, equality and inclusion ambassador today. But she didn't start out that way. She started out pretty small. Let's hear the rest of her interesting story.
Hello.
We are met by the Director of Brand, PR and Communications, who tells us why the work culture at Setfords inspires diversity ambassadors like Pearl. Oh, hi. Hello. Hi.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank
Nice
you
to
for
meet
coming.
you.
Welcome
Right,
to
fantastic.
Setfords.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's really important in a modern company to have lots of diverse voices and lots of representation from different communities, different backgrounds, different countries, and different religions as well. Something we, are very conscious of, and so that adds kind of real flavour to the business, and it's good for us, and so it's something that we're all very, very proud of.
And we find Pearl busy at her desk, responding to compliance queries. She tells us how she became passionate about the law.
I always knew I was going to end up in the law, and I was, shall we say, assiduously encouraged in that direction by my dear father.
Like looking at some of the institutions that you attended, you went to Cambridge, Kent. You've been there. You've been to the traditional, British sort of Russell Group universities. Oftentimes being the only black face. How did you negotiate being the only black face in the room and being female at that?
Do you know, it's really interesting when you say that, because my dad, I go back to my dad again, my parents were very, very, they thought it was really important that we spend some time in Nigeria, and at a point in my journey I did return to Nigeria, returned home, and one of the things that was so beautiful about that environment was that it taught you how to work exceptionally hard and how to know that you could do pretty much anything. So I'm really grateful for my legal education in Nigeria, the Nigerian Law School, the professors at that time, because what they really imparted was an understanding that there is nothing you cannot do. So I used to call myself like the poppy seed in the rice. So yes, there were a few of us, but we made our presence felt.
Okay. Let's talk about your role. I mean, you've had multiple roles spanning your 2-decade-long career. Loads of work for the Law Society of England and Wales, being risk and compliance, shall I say, officer, and visiting law firms, ensuring that they comply with the law. And then looking at a person like yourself, you walk into the room and you're the compliance officer. Any resistance there?
Oh my goodness, that would be telling tales out of school. Yes, I mean, I started out quite early in the day, if you like, and very often would be quite an aberration, unlike today, in terms of risk and compliance circles, being black, being a woman, being the expert, if you like, in the room, or at least being positioned as the expert in the room. And there was some resistance, because very often when you don't look like what people are expecting, there can be questions around whether or not you know your stuff, whether you qualify to be there. And then even when it becomes apparent that you do know your stuff and you are the right person, sometimes people challenging you that bit more robustly to see whether or not if they shake the toy, the wheels will fall off, sort of thing. So yes, some resistance, yes, but a real understanding that if you have that confidence in yourself and you continue on, people come along with you. They'll come along for the ride in the end, sort of thing.
And so, in terms of stereotypes, how did you negotiate that? So you're female, you're Nigerian in the diaspora, I mean Nigerian originally, you're British, you're female, and you're at the top of your game in a male-dominated space where they're expecting a man with a briefcase. And then you walk in with your pearls and they think,
oh my goodness, not just my pearls, my nails as well.
There you go.
Oftentimes people say if you can't beat them, join them. But no, I would often say, do you know what, be you. At the end of the day, the beautiful thing about the legal profession, I would suggest, and possibly indeed any other profession, is when you know your stuff, people know you know it. And if you continue to do what you have always done well, over time, the recognition does come. I mentioned earlier on that there are times when, before you were known, you would walk into the place and people would come into the meeting room or the training room or the firm office room, and they would ask me, when is the trainer coming? or when is the compliance officer coming?
Did they ask you to make tea and coffee?
Well, sometimes they would ask for tea and coffee, but more often they would ask, when is the trainer coming? And at one point, to be honest with you, I would almost wait until 2 minutes before the session was due to start, walk through the room and then walk to the front. And I could almost hear the whispers in the room, where's she going? Where's she going? Then I'd sit in my seat and say, good afternoon, everyone, thank you for coming, and start the session. And you could almost see the disbelief.
She also talks about her passion for diversity, equality, and the inclusion space.
And the truth of the matter is that as a Nigerian, I never really thought of myself as black, and that might make you laugh because I'm clearly black. But in Nigeria, we thought of ourselves as Nigerians and thought of ourselves as aspirational people, hardworking people. But I didn't necessarily present as black per se. But when I started to do my professional roles in the UK, I found very often that that was what people would notice or talk about. And I spoke to a very lovely chap, Jerry, when I was in my Law Society days. And at one point in time, when I said to him, listen, I'm more interested in expertise than in what colour my skin is or whether there are people of other ethnicities in that sort of a way. And he said to me, he said, oh, you know, the truth of the matter is, no matter how brilliant you are, anytime people look at you, the first thing they'll see is a black woman. And he said, if we look behind us, who else is coming? And, you know, his words kept on ringing in my head. And after a while, I started paying attention. I'd be in certain rooms, I'd see, you're the only person of colour in this space. You're the only person of any diversity necessarily in this particular space. And I realized that actually it wasn't enough to be excellent if nobody else was coming or if nobody else was being represented.
So representation is her catchphrase, but here's how she puts it to those who run the top 100 law firms in the UK.
Often I'll say to them, where are the others? If you have a mantra or if you have a doctrine or if you're putting out that you are interested in ethnicity and diversity, where is the representation? Where is the evidence of your money being where your mouth is? And how are you helping? So in the current space, there's a lot of conversation around allyship. So I will tend to talk to people about allyship. I'll tend to talk to people about other languages. I have, at my current firm at Setfords, I have actually been part of a Diversity Champions group and encouraged people to listen to Chimamanda Adichie's The Dangers of a Single Story. And I've encouraged people to listen to TED Talks on Don't Ask Me Where I'm From, Ask Me Where I'm a Local. So beginning to understand the politics of language, the politics of colour, the politics of race, to understand privilege and how privilege can be used positively to enhance diversity, equality and inclusion.
And then she lights up when she talks about the future of the legal profession and artificial intelligence.
I've always been fascinated by how technology can enhance the professional experience. And the truth of the matter is that when you think about AI in the legal sector, there is a lot in law that can be quite formulaic. So contract drafting, templates and things like that, they lend themselves very readily to technology and to being automated. And I know one of the biggest concerns that people have often had is, does that mean that robots are going to replace lawyers? Are we going to need fewer lawyers in the future and things like that? And my answer to that is, I think, a resounding no. Because I do think that while there are, shall we say, slightly more formulaic tasks that technology will do relatively straightforwardly, the real meat, if you like, of being a lawyer is your being astute and your intuition and your ability to make judicial decisions and things like that. And I think it will be very, very difficult to outsource that to a machine.
And here's her compliance counsel for the bar and the bench outside the UK.
The Nigerian profession is very, very mindful of the importance of ethical practice, of doing things right, of dressing correctly professionally, and of not bringing the profession into disrepute. So those sorts of lessons from day-to-day practice and work in the risk and compliance space are equally valid and relevant, I would suggest, in the Nigerian context.
In terms of your legacy, what's the most important thing for you?
Do you know, I would say that the most important thing for me is giving back. I think it's so very important that, this is going to sound so righteous, but that the next generation of lawyers coming up have the right mentors, get the right support. Don't make some of the errors or mistakes that some of us have made in the past. Don't feel as though there is no hope. I know that sometimes there can be a real challenge around the training contract situation, around actually getting your career started, especially, I'm going to put it out there, if you're a person of colour or of any ethnicity, it can be quite difficult to find your way forward. And so I'm very, very keen to see more young people coming through into the law. So you want to be a lawyer from junior stages all the way to associate stages, all the way to professional expert stages. I mean, I think our model in Setfords, the consultancy model, is absolutely brilliant, and I'd love to see us bring people all the way through.
Now, Paul's success at Setfords proves that Nigerians are great people doing great things in different parts of the world. They succeed in whatever that they choose to do. And that's it on the show. You can catch other episodes of Diaspora Network on our website and, of course, on our YouTube channel. From Surrey in southern England, I'm Ijoma Onyato. See you next time.